God, Made in Abyss is so effed up. Made in Abyss is so effed up. I cannot believe what I just watched. Knew it was coming. Honestly, knew it was coming, but dang. I didn't really think it was going to go in that direction, and it totally did. But yeah, episode 7 of Made in Abyss, second season. This is Made in Abyss. This is what you came here for. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? But yeah, didn't really get the full context, the full story in this one episode, so I'm not sure if they're going to do 2 episodes to cover this backstory stuff, but I don't know if I want any more at this point. I don't know if I want any more. I'm assuming what they implied with at the end of this episode was that they ate Urumui. It could have been the children. My initial thought was that it was going to be the children, but like implying that this is like this thing that produced endless food, and so they were eating the children. But no, that seemed like it was more implying that was Urumui, and they just all ate her. Which I guess that technically might, feed into what could possibly come going forward, that they might all end up turning into hollows at this point. Don't know. I don't know anything anymore. I don't know anything more. Apologies for my last impressions videos. I apparently got a lot of people mad because I didn't understand what the monster was that came back in the village, but that's fine. I like messed up with 2 points and people got really angry. So I guess with Made in Abyss, people get really angry about you not getting things right. So hopefully in this impressions video, I get everything right. But no, it just pretty much set the tables for that they just came here. They realized they can't go back. Obviously, the elevator taking test subjects back up, they find that they just end up losing their entire human bodies. So as it came back down, they realized this is our home. We got to figure things out, which pretty much just turns to them trying to locate food, resources, water, which the unfortunate thing that comes from that is that the water they obtain is not good. It's parasitic. Whatever they're drinking, even though they boil it, there's like these eggs or whatever creatures inside of the water itself, which are turning them into, or making them really sick, and then end up kind of turning into almost like a molding, a hardening substance, which all starts with diarrhea and spewing out eggs, which that was interesting, kind of getting into Beloff investigating this water hole and realizing this is just one big huge corpse, and we're just drinking the water that was probably what made that what it is. Additionally, the other thing that they discover is, of course, this egg, which is a relic, and what the interference units describe this thing being is sort of a thing that grants wishes. It's a cradle desire, or as they put into their words, it's a wish-granting egg. Now, the weird thing that comes from this whole thing is they're very, very cryptic about how they're explaining these things, and I guess that's the aspect of the language barrier. They say that Wazakan shouldn't touch the thing. If you get swallowed up by your wish, dissipate, you'll become like that too, which I'm guessing they're implying the people that were the surveyors or the hunting party that end up picking up this egg that turned it into almost like a wooden-shaped corpse. They say that because it's so large, it's very powerful. Typically, I guess they're supposed to be smaller. But yes, basically implying that adults, this thing is not suitable for. Which, yes, immediately implies, Urumui, the child that we happen to have with our group is probably going to be the one that has to touch that thing. Which ends up being the route they go, because eventually Urumui ends up getting sick. Vueko's terrified for her. Obviously, a lot of other people are getting sick, and so it seems like, from Wazakan's perspective, let's let her give it a shot. She's juvenile. Even the interference units say the same thing. This child is just pretty much suitable for it. Which that becomes a big question mark as Vueko brings this to Urumui, is they don't know what she wished for. She just puts on her chest. She goes to sleep. The next day, Urumui's running around. She's happy again. She's not in pain or anything, even though her hands still kind of morphed a little bit. She's not in pain. And additionally, it kind of implies this idea of, well, maybe she just wished for happiness and to make all of her fears vanish. But then things start going way downhill. And this is where I start to get into my theories, technically. I guess what they're implying the theory is on what she actually wished for. Because the entire episode, we're getting a lot of perspective into who Urumui is. That yes, she was born to this tribe. She was born under a mother that had tons of children. She was the only daughter, and all the older brothers took care of her because she was the only daughter. She was doted upon, but until eventually they do the ceremony and they realize that she cannot bear children, that was the point in which she was discarded. Typically, when you reach the point in which you're an adult or you're of age, you get tattoos on them, which they say that is supposed to be mimicking the people of the Golden City. But she couldn't. So she got discarded. They no longer looked to her. They no longer interacted. She was discarded. She's thrown away, basically. Thrown back into the pit in which the curse that she is from. But again, as this whole process continues, she has this thing in her chest now. She slowly starts to turn into what looks like a hollow. Her form is changing, but she's still happy. She's still comfortable. Until the point in which she has a child. So screwed up. Oh, this show is so screwed up. This writer, I hate them. I hate this writer so much. It basically is implying right here that she wished for to basically become what her family and everybody of her tribe wanted her to become a childbearer. And so she was bearing children. All these creatures were coming from her as her own children, but they were all screwed up in some way. They were all deformed in some way. They couldn't survive outside of her, I wouldn't say her womb, just outside of her. The first one didn't have a mouth, so it couldn't consume food, so it just died. It showed another one that looked like it had a mouth, but it still died. And she kept having children after children after children, and they're all just dying, and it's just destroying her. All the way to the point in which Ougonkyou gets ill. She finally has the diarrhea, and she's getting sick, and she's upset because she can't be with Urumui, because Urumui's dealing with this terrible thing that's happening to her. And then, yes. Oh my gosh. This freaking show, dude. Wazakon shows up with food. Where did Wazakon get food from? It kind of implied right here that technically at this point, everybody's sick. Like, everybody's dropping like flies. And the only thing I can assume at this point is that maybe Wazakon is the only one that's not infected at this point. And he arrives with the one thing that he believes that he can help everybody survive, which is to feed them. Like I said, it's implying Urumui. Could be her children, but it's implying Urumui. Feeds everybody cooked Urumui. And that seems to help Ougonkyou. She gets back up on her feet. She seems fine. But, yeah. And yes, he says that he fed everybody. Everybody's got fed. It worked out great, right? The wish turned out great. Oh, screw this show so much. This stupid freaking show. I guess that's why, technically, when it jumped to the scene where it showed Ougonkyou, in the future time, it just showed the gym. This is her beating heart, which is technically where it was placed at for Urumui. And so the assumption there is, since now we're seeing the gym and it's no longer seemingly in that position with Urumui. I mean, it could be completely inside of Urumui, and Urumui lived on. Maybe possibly Wazakon was feeding parts of Urumui. And again, technically could be feeding her children. But we'll have to see. I don't know. Again, I'm back to the point where I almost want to just jump into the manga and read what the hell happens beyond this point, because I really want to know if they just ate Urumui. Really screwed up episode. Really, really effed up episode. I can't get over it. There's a side of me that almost, like, I guess respects the fact that Riko's journey so far has always been with what her mother's kind of set for before her. Using the knowledge that her mother gave her, she's been able to kind of avoid a lot of this stuff. It is kind of interesting to see a perspective of another group where they're essentially all wiped out because of their lack of knowledge of what threats are in this area. Water, seemingly a simple consumable thing, and yet, even despite being boiled, can still completely destroy their entire group. Not having proper maps, proper channels for getting to the supplies, all these things really do show how extremely vicious this world is. We got a sense of that with the first season, having this whole scenario where Riko got completely destroyed. She almost lost her limb. There was a lot of signs that every turn of the abyss itself is danger. And it's been a while since we really felt that with Riko's group. And so I guess it was, even though I really hated this episode, it's really nice to see another perspective, to see just how twisted this world is and how dangerous it is. There was a lot of emphasis obviously put on Wazakon this episode. The point in which he does agree to allow Urumui to use the egg, he gets like a very stern face, says that the kid will be our salvation. And Ougonkyou specifically notes that this is the first point in which she's seen close face-to-face with something of a divinely possessed prophet. Yes, there's a lot of emphasis on them being the three sages, this classification that Wazakon created, but Wazakon himself is supposedly some sort of prophet. I'm curious if that will play deeper into the story overall, or if it's just This is something that he's seen. This is some future that he's seen. It kind of implies that he perceived this. Like, he knew from that point that everybody was getting sick, that had to be done. Like, Urumui is going to be our food in about a week. Anyways, massively screwed up episode. Looking for the next week. I'm looking forward to, but I hate it at the same time. I really do hope that we continue on this story. It felt a little fast-paced at times, but at the same time, I think it was just trying to hit each of these sequences that lead up to the important stuff. Because, yes, a lot of points they were jumping around going, oh, this person's sick. No, this thing happened. Now this thing happened. It kept jumping days and jumping around. But either way, I still hope that we get the complete story and that just doesn't kind of end there. Obviously, the big question this whole thing creates, a situation with Urumui, is this the birth of the whole system of the village itself? Because obviously this thing granted a wish, it then consumed her, and then everything went downhill. So how does this core go from being the thing everybody's wishing for to it being pretty much the system of an entire village? Because every time somebody asks of something, wishes for something in this village that we're at the current time, it grants that wish, essentially. It then converts them to value, which is what Urumui had turned into. Urumui is basically the first case of the whole system of wish, value, journey, end. So how does it become like the central system? How does it go from where we just left off to now? That's that gap that still needs to be explained. Essentially, what it makes me believe is that this egg that Urumui wished upon is now the village. It's like the core of it. Or it could be the fact that since everybody possibly consumed Urumui, it spread that egg, that wish around, and now everybody's just wishing upon it. I'll be interested to see how mad my brother is. My brother is like a huge fan of Urumui's Seiyu, so she's probably gonna be super mad. And again, technically, I'm curious to see if Urumui will end up being Fapta. Again, I think they almost kind of separated Fapta from Urumui last episode, talking about the fact that she's like this queen of the Golden City, or this could be the origins of her as the princess of the Golden City. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy it. And I'm still kind of curious if this is even the Golden City. It is kind of funny to think that they might not even be in the Golden City yet. It'll be interesting to see if we actually do get to see the Golden City. I mean, the season's titled that, so I hope they would, but they're technically looking for it. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of this episode. Are you mad as I am? Hit that like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already so you can get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.